Hello, I'm Ozempic.
GLP-1s are everywhere.
Can you explain what these shots really are?
Well, that is starvation. That's an eating disorder.
Suing Novo Nordisk, the maker of Ozempic, for wrongful death.
People may not know about the negative side effects. For example, 40% of the weight that people are losing on these drugs is coming from holy.
Many have called the drugs a medical miracle.
It is, in fact, a miracle.
There was also an FDA warning letter to the company citing serious violations for failing to report potential side effects linked to semaglutide.
So the medication comes in a vial like this. Gave myself the first dose of this medication, and within 3 hours, I started to think, something's happening.
Ozempic, Wegovy, GLP-1. I would be willing to place a very confident bet that either you or someone that you know very closely is on a GLP-1. According to a poll by the Kaiser Family Foundation, roughly 12% of Americans are on GLP-1. And that's just America. And you know what? I bet almost every single one of those people had improvements on the things that they're looking to change. GLP-1s have a lot of benefits, no matter what you want to say about them. But the thing that I've always wondered is how much do we really know about this drug? They've only been around in a commercial sense for a few years. And in the last 3 years or so, GLP-1s have single-handedly changed society. For the better? Maybe. For the worse? We might not know for about 10 years. This is the first video in my new series on GLP-1s. And in this video, we are going to talk about the history behind GLP-1s, what's in them, and how it came to be that they are now one of the most popular drugs in the whole world. Now, I'm not here to drum up a lot of controversy, okay? I simply believe in thinking for yourself, doing your own research. I just believe that if you're going to be putting something into your body, possibly indefinitely, then you deserve to know everything that you possibly can about that drug. And frankly, I don't really trust the pharmaceutical reps that are being paid to prescribe this to you, to tell you everything that you could possibly know. And I'll get exactly into why I don't trust them. But let's roll it back, and let's start from the very beginning. This video was actually the impetus for this whole series that I'm doing, because the claims that he is making are drastic. And I don't want to sensationalize, but as somebody who cares for the people in my life who are on GLP-1, this worried me a little bit. I'll just show you the video, and we'll talk about it after.
Have you heard about GLP-1 hormones?
Yes.
GLP-1 drugs?
Yes.
Can you name one?
Ozempic.
Ozempic. And its sister drug, Wegovy, made by the same company, Novo Nordisk in Denmark. This company in 5 years has made $2.21 trillion on Ozempic and Wegovy.
Yeah, it's been huge.
And America buys 90% of it.
Because we're the most overweight.
Okay. Do you know there's no GLP-1 hormone in those drugs, but they call them GLP-1 drugs?
What's in it?
Oh, this is marketing. This is propaganda. Everybody's convinced these are GLP-1 drugs and that inside of it must just be GLP-1 hormone. No, there's no GLP-1 anything in Ozempic or Wegovy. But you have to go read the research studies of how they developed it to know what they put in it. They put inside of it just one substance. It's called Exendin-4. EXENDIN-4. You're all being deceived. But thank God there's some people that know how to read English. I'm one of them. So I just love reading. And I think they're totally trying to deceive us almost 24/7. So I decided to go look it up 3 years ago. What is this stuff, Ozempic and Wegovy? It's made up of a protein called Exendin-4. Exendin-4 is isolated from the venom of a lizard that lives in the southwestern United States deserts called the Gila monster lizard.
What?
Exendin-4 is a neurotoxic venom from a lizard, and you're all injecting inside of you, and this drug, Ozempic and Wegovy, is being promoted as a weight loss drug and a diabetes drug. Exendin-4 is a venom protein, and they have found and published that when you inject that into a human being, it will circulate into your bloodstream, obviously, because they just injected it inside of there, or you did yourself. It's a lifelong prescription, like a high blood pressure drug. So you're injecting, all of you, once a week, Exendin-4 Gila monster venom protein into your body. Did you know that Gila monster venom, published by the Smithsonian Institute last year, they were interviewed. They wanted to know how toxic is Gila monster venom. Not a joke. They actually said, it's published by CNN, that Gila monster venom is as toxic and deadly as a western diamondback rattlesnake's venom. And there are now millions of Americans injecting that venom inside of them every single day, being told it's a GLP-1 drug approved by the FDA. This is venom, people, and you're injecting it into your body. Venom destroys human tissue. It is not a cure for anything. But any of you out there who are losing weight, congratulations. I'd like to ask you, do you really believe you're overweight and you're diabetic and you have heart disease because you're Gila monster venom deficient? And if not, why are you injecting it inside of you every day?
So this man is making a lot of claims, right? These are verifiable claims that I could go into and I can figure out if that's actually true. And that's exactly what I did. The first claim that he made is that GLP-1 drugs do not actually have any of the GLP-1 hormone in them, and that they actually came from the venom of a Gila monster. Now, if you don't know what a Gila monster is, it's this. This lovely, beautiful little lizard that can be found in the desert, places like Arizona, they are venomous. Is what this man said true? Do GLP-1s come from the Gila monster venom? Yes. But not really in the way that you would think. Here's what actually happened. In 1992, a researcher at a VA hospital in the Bronx, New York, he was studying hormones under one of his mentors. His name was John Ang. John Ang was studying hormones in a ton of different animals, even humans, so he ended up testing Gila monster venom, and he actually found a brand new hormone that had never been found before. And he found that this hormone, this brand new hormone that he got to name and everything, in the human body, it actually triggered an insulin release. But only when blood sugar went up. So John Ang, he discovers this hormone, right? He discovers what it might be able to do for the human body, and he immediately connects it with people with diabetes, because this hormone can trigger an insulin response that can help a lot of people. So he figures out how to pull it out of the venom, and he names it Exendin-4. So yes, technically, GLP-1s come from a hormone found in Gila monster venom. But they took that hormone and they figured out how to make it synthetically, and then they packaged it up in a nice little bow and they gave it to you. So if you're taking a GLP-1, you're putting a synthetic hormone in your body, yes, but you are not injecting yourself with venom, like this man wants you to believe. So all of the claims that he has about what this venom will do to you in your body are just complete and utter bullshit. I don't know why he wants to scare you into believing that these things will happen to you if you take a GLP-1. That's not to say that there aren't side effects, and we will certainly get into the side effects. We are not going to take this random man's word for it, okay? Over here, we think for ourselves. So yes, he is partially right and a lot wrong. So now that we know exactly where it came from, let's talk about how it went from the lab of this one researcher into the pockets of millions of Americans. Now, John Ang actually seems like a really cool guy. In fact, he actually got to meet a Gila monster. He talked about how beautiful the lizard was and how we had to protect animals and plants and herbs, because who knows how many more people they can help. So I actually think that he was a really cool guy. And when he found this hormone, he knew that this could help a ton of people. And so his whole goal was to get it out exactly like it is now. But when he brought it to the hospital that he was researching at, they didn't care. Remember, he worked at the VA hospital. So when he brought them his research, they told him, well, is diabetes really affecting a lot of veterans? No? Okay, then we're not going to do anything about it. That's crazy. I'm sorry, that's crazy. So he sat on it for a little while, and he tried to get it patented by himself. It cost a lot of money, it took a ton of time, but finally, he was able to get the attention of a large research company that picked up on it immediately. They were able to help him distribute it and all of these things. Now, that's one side of the story. The other side of the story is companies like Novo Nordisk. And I need you to remember that name. Novo Nordisk. They're gonna come up a lot in this series, okay? Now, Novo Nordisk was just one of the many companies that was trying to figure out diabetes medications and treatments. And people knew about GLP-1s already, because up until this point, a lot of the treatments that they had for diabetes, they just released insulin like non-stop. But GLP-1s only release insulin when blood sugar is high. So it's kind of like an intelligent hormone in your body that just knows what to do and when to activate, which is a lot cleaner for your system. However, the GLP-1s that they were creating, they could only last in the body for like an hour. And the extended 4 that John Ang had figured out, it could last in the body for like 24 hours. So that was a major breakthrough. The combination of the two findings were actually able to create the GLP-1 that we know today. Alright, I hope you stuck with me through that history lesson. I want to just make sure that we're all on the same page. I want to create a very clear picture of what is GLP-1, what's in it. If it's not actually venom, what is it, right? And again, I'm gonna try and keep the energy up. Stick with me for just another minute, okay? GLP-1, it stands for glucagon-like peptide 1. Catchy, right? And here's the thing, your body naturally makes GLP-1. It's a hormone inside your body, and it does exactly what we're talking about. It tells your body when blood sugar starts to get high, and it tells your pancreas to release insulin that will bring your blood sugar back down. It's how your body processes glucose. The other thing is that GLP-1, it slows down how fast your stomach will empty itself. So when the GLP-1 gets released, food moves through your digestive system a lot more slowly. But it does that so that your blood sugar doesn't spike out the wazoo. The more slowly your body digests food, the more stable your glucose levels are. And it also goes to your brain and it tells your brain, hey, we've had enough, you can stop eating now, and so it controls your appetite as well. Now, semaglutide, which is the synthetic version of the GLP-1, semaglutide is the active ingredient in Ozempic, in Wegovy. It's actually 94% identical to the naturally made GLP-1 that you already have in your body. However, one tricky little thing is that Novo Nordisk actually created it to be a lot harder for your body to break down. And that's on purpose, so that if GLP-1 stays in your gut longer, then it can keep everything moving slowly for longer. It can keep your appetite at bay for longer. And most importantly, for people with diabetes, it can keep your glucose levels stable for longer. That is the drug. I know that was a lot, but I hope that that was a little bit informational, especially if this is something that if you know a lot of people that are on it, or if you yourself have been considering, or if you're on it and you didn't really know what was in it. I hope that that was a little bit helpful. But the next thing I want to talk about is the approval history of semaglutide. Because semaglutide is approved by the FDA in a couple of different uses. And this is where the whole thing started to get a little more interesting for me. So I'm not a history reporter, okay? My job is to investigate, to dig a little bit deeper. And here's what I found after doing a little more research. So the FDA approved semaglutide first in December of 2017. Okay? 9 years ago, the FDA approved the first use of semaglutide. And that drug was called Ozempic. We all know Ozempic. Know her, love her, hate her, regardless. Ozempic was approved in 2017 for diabetes specifically. Along with, and this is the phrase I'm going to say a lot, along with diet and exercise lifestyle changes. Not as a miracle drug, but as a supplement to lifestyle changes. That's what the FDA says, that's what the website says, what the label says. So, Ozempic launches in 2017 from the company Novo Nordisk for diabetes. And it wasn't fully clear to the manufacturers or the researchers what the weight loss effects were going to be until people started actually using it a lot. And they found that patients that were on Ozempic, they were losing a lot of weight, and really fast. But of course that wasn't the main thing that it was approved for. But for 4 years, okay, 2017 to 2021, that was the situation. It was really only marketed for people with diabetes, but people were kind of using it for weight loss as well. But then, in 2021, the same manufacturer, Novo Nordisk, they get a second approval from the FDA. The same molecule, the same hormone, the same active ingredient, but at a slightly different dose, and with a different brand name. Wegovy. I didn't know, and I would stand to bet that a lot of you didn't know as well. Wegovy and Ozempic are made by the same company, Novo Nordisk. But the FDA approved Wegovy specifically for chronic weight management. So just to be really, really crystal clear about what that means, Ozempic and Wegovy are the same drug, semaglutide, made by the same company, but they're sold under 2 different names, 2 different brands, with 2 very different uses. And, most importantly, 2 different prices. Now, I want to be careful here, because when I saw that, when I went to the Ozempic website and saw that it said not for weight loss use, and then I found out that they are also marketing a drug for weight loss use, and they're the same thing, I immediately clocked that as suspicious. But apparently, I was wrong. I jumped the gun a little bit, okay? The FDA will only approve a drug for a specific use. They kind of had to make it that way. But what I do think is worth asking is, what did Novo Nordisk know in those 4 years where Ozempic was the only thing on the market? Were they aware of people using it for off-label weight loss management? They just see that people with diabetes were losing a lot of weight, and they thought to themselves, oh, there's a market for this? Or did they know about the off-label use and already had the market and then decided to capitalize off of it even more? It is a real question to ask, what did Novo Nordisk actually know at the time? What do they know now? And can they be held liable for what's happening in the general population? I'm gonna be completely honest. When I was hearing about GLP-1s, I actually had no idea that it was originally intended for people with diabetes. I didn't know about the benefits to kidney failure, cardiovascular disease. I didn't know any of that. All I knew is that it was a weight loss drug. So how did we get from people with type 2 diabetes to the vast majority of people knowing it as a weight loss drug? Honestly, celebrities. That's really what it was. Celebrities were coming out with before and afters, Ozempic face started to become a trending topic online as people started seeing celebrities having their bodies changed, and so quickly, demand started going up and up and up, and even to the point that people with type 2 diabetes couldn't even get the medication. The medication that was approved for them before anybody else. Now, this became so big in the cultural zeitgeist that even Oprah Winfrey came out in March 2024 and talked about GLP-1s on her show. It was a 42-minute special on GLP-1s on ABC. I don't want you to think that this was all happening, without Novo Nordisk knowing about it. It just got in the wrong hands and naturally everybody wanted it. No. This Oprah Winfrey special, yeah, it was all bought and paid for by Novo Nordisk. They had 2 doctors come on that they were paying to be the experts. They had the VP of sales from Novo Nordisk come be on camera as well. And they were just glazing it. So much so that, in fact, and I'm not even speculating here, okay, this actually happened. The FDA sent Novo Nordisk a letter saying, by the way, this whole special with Oprah Winfrey, that was misleading. That was false advertising. Take it down immediately. Specifically, the FDA said that the risks of the drug were drastically understated. And even further, the special was never sent to the FDA for review before they aired it, which is legally required. So now we have an even deeper question. Is semaglutide and GLP-1s, are they really that good? Or are they just being pushed massively by these companies that are paying people left and right to prescribe this product? A company that, by the way, is making billions of dollars a year off of this one product. A company that is also massively pushing the idea that obesity should be considered a chronic disease. And oh yeah, the medication, by the way, the GLP-1 that you're on to lose those extra few pounds, yeah, you have to be on it for the rest of your life. I have a lot of questions. Because when there is a multi-billion-dollar incentive for a company to get you on this drug and get you hooked on it for your lifetime, then I just really want to understand the motives, I want to know who's involved, I want to know what the side effects are, so I have a lot of questions. So this series, it's about Ozempic, it's about GLP-1s, but more specifically, it's about the gap between what we know or think we know and what we don't, and about who benefits from that gap existing. Because the thing is, there are studies that have been done on not only the efficacy but the safety of semaglutide. However, most of those studies are done on the people that this was made for. People with type 2 diabetes, people with kidney failure, the people with those diseases. That's not all of who's taking it. The people that I know, they're taking it for looks, for aesthetic reasons, to lose 10 or 15 pounds or so. Those people are not being studied. They're not in the trials. We don't have safety data on people who were healthy to begin with. The weight loss numbers, the side effects, all of it comes from a different population. And then there's another layer even to it. Because the aesthetic use population, they also don't use it like the people who actually really need it. They start Ozempic, they stop because it costs over $1,000 a month out of pocket because insurance won't cover it. Then they restart when they can afford it again, or they stop because the side effects are so brutal that they can't even handle it, and then they restart when they feel better. That stop-start cycle, that's not even being studied at all. And there's real evidence now that the cycling itself, separate from anything that the drug is doing directly to your body, it might be driving some of the worst body composition issues. So, I want to give you an overview of what's coming up next so that you can subscribe and turn on your notifications and make sure you don't miss it. Part 2 will be about the side effects. Not the ones that are getting dismissed as hype or over-sensationalized, and not the ones that are getting blown up on TikTok either. We're talking about peer-reviewed literature. We're talking about muscle loss, gastrointestinal complications. What happens when you stop? Part 3 is the lawsuits. There's active federal litigation, and not from one person or two, from thousands of people. I've been going through the science that both sides are going to bring up as evidence, and I found some things out about who funded that science. So I'll leave you with this little tidbit. In Novo Nordisk's own clinical trials, their data, their prescribing information, 73% of adults on Wegovy reported gastrointestinal side effects. Severe reactions in 4%. 4% stopped taking it entirely because of the GI side effects alone. That's from their own documents. And on that Oprah special that we talked about, on national television in front of millions of people, a doctor who was being paid by Novo Nordisk told the audience that the side effects of these drugs were being overhyped. So, that is where we are starting in part 2. I will see you there.